Hello everyone, and welcome to Restart Your Business, Recharge Your Life here at Avila Spaces. In 2020, we are having a lot of trouble with the coronavirus, and businesses are suffering and are trying their best to try to see the solutions. How can we see the big answer to get our clients to trust us in a world that there are so many things that make us believe that the fake news, for instance, we don't believe them, but they are everywhere, right? So today we have someone very special, and she's going to talk about innovation. How can we make our business transform to be better, maybe digital, I don't know. Ozioma, thank you so much for being with us today. We are going to talk about a lot of things today, and you in that side, you're going to want to watch this. Ozioma, start by presenting yourself and telling us what is for you actually restarting your business.
Got it. So, hi everyone, I'm Ozioma Egwuonwu. I'm the founder of a company called BurnBright International that operates in the United States as well as here in Lisbon, and I've been in the world of entrepreneurship, in the world of strategy, in the world of coaching and consulting for about 15 years, and one of my big passions is about innovation and entrepreneurship, and specifically the way in which we bring leadership at the highest level to all that we do. And so we're going to be talking a bit about that. And so to answer your question, Paula, what I feel when I think about this frame, this like phrase, right, restart your business, what does that really mean? I hear it as an invitation. Mm-hmm. You know, when this whole corona moment occurred, many people decided that this was the time when they thought that their business was going to fall apart. And they themselves maybe fell apart and felt like, oh my gosh, what are we going to do? But there were also many people at the same time and many businesses at the same time that looked at it as an invitation to innovation. And so when I think about restarting your business, what I see and what I hear is an invitation to truly step into a more powerful approach to the way in which you lead your business, as well as for you to think about, you know, the foundational premise of why you started your business. Where would you like it to go now that the context of our world has changed? Yeah. And how can we actually create something that didn't exist before? So that's one particular aspect of restarting your business. Yeah. But another one is literally saying what works and what no longer works. And how do we reignite? How do we basically transform the current business into what is actually going to have more of a meaningful impact and also generate more revenue in the moment and moving forward? So
you would say that reignite may be associated to aspects like digital, for instance, because you are there are a lot of brands and businesses that are not on digital media. Do you think that, for instance, if someone is now without those channels, that is a problem? Or what do you think? What is your opinion about it?
Yeah, I would actually say that if you're not on digital, you don't have a brand. There's no way to be a brand in 2020 and not be on, you know, have a digital presence. Yeah. But the question is, are you just having a digital presence, or are you actually a digital storyteller? And the brands that are really making a meaningful difference and having an impact in the marketplace are ones that have transcended from being just, okay, we have a website, we have these, you know, this presence. No, we're actually telling stories. And we're telling stories that are actually addressing our customers and our community's needs. Yeah. And we're taking our customers, our community, our audiences on a transformational journey. Yeah. And so you see brands like Nike, you know, there's so many other brands that do that so well. Right? Absolutely. But it's about storytelling.
Do you think that's one of the biggest obstacles from your clients in restarting your business? So they want to transform, but they are not ready to work their image. What do you think?
No, I think the biggest piece, the biggest challenge that many of clients, at least earlier, was the inability to let go. Many of them didn't want to accept that the game had changed. They didn't want to accept that it's going to require us to show up differently in our businesses. And so I think that was like the first challenge that many entrepreneurs had is like this resistance, and also, to be honest, a bit of shock. Like, wait, is this really happening?
Yeah.
Oh no, this can't be happening.
Yeah.
And then those who were able to say, okay, this is happening, what am I going to do? Just like, you know, Avila Spaces, right? Identifying where are the opportunities and how do we pivot in a way where we're still in the game versus wanting to just stay in bed and, you know, hide under the covers. And as an entrepreneur, if you don't stay in the game, you won't have a business.
Yeah, and how do you make them believe that that's the way they should do it? For instance, we're talking about business that sometimes, in other times, they had money and they were being very successful. And now they see these times, in 2020, for instance, and they have a presence on social media. They are not working yet, but still, they are not happy with the idea of working the image. How do you tell them, listen, you have to do this? What are those biggest key words that you use?
Well, I think the biggest piece is about helping entrepreneurs and helping businesses realize that this larger marketplace has a space for them, right? Each of us are invited to participate in the unfolding of a larger story. And so even this Corona moment, it's a narrative that's unfolding. And every single business and every single business owner and every employee has a role to play in that conversation. And so, you know, in the same way you would sit there and you'd say, okay, you know, there was a statement people used to use all the time, you're leaving money on the table. Well, maybe you're not going to be as, you know, as blunt as saying you're leaving money on the table, but to say that there is a world of business that is unfolding, that is changing at every single moment, and you have a role to play, and to not only play, but to help shape the future of business. And so to me, it comes back to inspiration. And when you get the entrepreneur, when you get the businesses to realize, wait a minute, I have a role to play and I can lead something.
I can make a difference.
I can make a difference. And that, is, to me, is the most exciting thing. And I find that, especially for my clients, when we identify, you know, strategically, because again, I'm a strategist by trade, that's the work I've been doing for the past 15 years, is when you really understand the larger story and you develop a strategy to help unleash that possibility in the marketplace. I mean, that's really what it's all about, is being able to say, this is the vision I have, and these are the actions that I'm committed to taking, and how can I inspire my team, and how can I keep inspiring myself to be the leader. Yes, exactly.
So that's one of the skills. What other skills do you find essential in business owners nowadays?
Well, I find mindfulness, obviously, a very important skill, because, you know, when you're a business owner, there's so many things and depending on the level and the scale of your business, there's so many things you have to handle, right? It's not just about your operations. You also have to think, obviously, about your finances. You have to think about the brand presence. You have to think about your strategic partnerships. You got to think about a lot of things. And so if you're not carving out time to just clear your mind, so that you can actually make sure that the way in which you're approaching the challenges is from the most clear and the most powerful, I guess, awareness. And so, which is why you see more and more business owners and leaders, whether they're in corporate America or, you know, doing independent entrepreneurship, taking time to meditate, or just even if you're not into meditation, just taking a moment to, even if it's every hour, just breathe, right? Stretch your body. There's so many different ways. I myself am a huge fan of free writing. So every morning when I wake up, I write 3 pages. And that allows me just to start my day with clarity. Because once I've written those 3 pages, now I'm ready to engage the day.
With your goals?
No, it's just whatever comes to your mind.
But if you dream something, you wrote it, right?
You could even complain. The whole 3 pages could just be complaints.
You would say that creative writing is also a skill, right?
Well, you're not necessarily even creative in those moments. All you're trying to do is to clear whatever might be in your mind, so that you are ready to engage your business or ready to engage the day.
Yeah, basically what you're saying is to be successful in entrepreneurship is essential for you to be also relaxed. It's not only to work, because we see a lot of that in hostel culture. You know, people tend to say you have to work every day, 7 days a week, you have to do this, because if you want to be successful, you have to do this. And basically what you're saying is very interesting, because you're saying exactly that you need to divide your attention. You need to divide into your job, your business, and in yourself, right?
Well, I would actually say you bring all of it. I'm actually more from the integral perspective that we bring all of ourselves. So it's not really a divide. It's about how do you allow yourself to be as free as you can be and unfettered, right? So like, how can you clear your mind so that you're fully in a space of possibility when you make decisions, as opposed to thinking about that won't work, that won't work, that won't work. You first want to start from the space of innovation, where it's pure possibility, and then you say, okay, how can we make it work? And quite often what happens is most entrepreneurs and business owners think they're the ones who have to make it work. And it's usually not the case. Usually when you have an idea, it's not about you having to take it all on yourself. Usually it's going to happen at the level of partnership. And that's one of the biggest advices that I can give to those in businesses that realize in order for your business to get to the next level, it's not just going to be you making it happen. You have to partner with others in order to grow.
And that's actually a lesson that everyone learned this year, right? What other lessons? You're a good advisor, by the way. you're a strategist, you would be, right? But what other lessons would you give to, I mean, what did you learn and that you could give to our audience?
Oh my gosh.
Related, for instance, I don't know, if you're starting a business, what would you say to someone now?
I would say focus on the addressable need. Because I think a lot of times, you know, we get so enamored with, oh my God, this is what I want to create and I've always wanted to do this. But it's like what you want to create and what you've always wanted to do has to meet a need in the marketplace, right? And even when you talk, because I do a lot of also startup coaching and, you know, mentoring and all of that, especially with the Founders Institute here in Lisbon, and you find that a lot of people are creating things that nobody wants. And so you have to make sure that the vision you have is actually addressing the need within the marketplace or a need of a customer, right? Because that is something that really has to be the customer development, the product development, product market fit, and really making sure that it exists before you move forward.
Basically, you need to be conscious in this world, because if you are like, okay, I'm starting my business without knowing anything, you're lost, right? And that's also a good point, because you need advisors.
Yes, absolutely. And you need to be honest. I think the biggest thing is sometimes we're not honest with ourselves about what do we actually have the appetite for, right? Especially when you're starting a business or restarting a business. May take a lot of time.
To be able. How can we be able to know what we can do and what other people can do? And how can we choose those people to work with us?
Well, I think first and foremost, it's kind of like doing an assessment, right? I think, especially when I'm doing any consulting or coaching, any type of work, it's always about first doing your audit. And that audit can be an audit of, you know, what assets, what resources you currently have in your business, or what relationships. You can do a relationship audit about who do you know. You know what I mean? Go into your LinkedIn, identify what are my relationships that I have and at what level. But I think if we start from a space of really getting clear on what it is we're currently working with, and also clarity about where is our desired goal, clarity about our customer base and what's there and what's not, and then trying to figure out how do all of these converging lines and converging spaces come together to meet in an opportunity. Because that, you know, a lot of people don't realize, right? Entrepreneurship is about, some would say, exploiting opportunity, identifying an opportunity and maximizing it, right? And if we're not willing to identify the opportunity, the entrepreneurial process really can't begin.
But how do you find an opportunity? For instance, it's easy to see now that coronavirus is an opportunity, but it's difficult to understand how it can be an opportunity. Is it associated with storytelling, or you have other points that could be related to manage a strategy during this time?
Well, if I were to ask you, like, how do you define opportunity?
For me, opportunity is actually studying what is wrong in our business, you know, and defining the points that need to be better. For instance, if I'm on digital, maybe to have someone in my brand to work that digital. That's for me opportunity. But for someone that does not understand it, I don't know, should this be an advice, you know? If we have bad values in the month in terms of finances, this would be a point also to think. What is wrong with this? Maybe we should be investing in other channels. or in another public.
So here's an example, right? There's much research done about what's known as like blue oceans and red oceans, right? And red ocean strategy is when it's a bloody ocean, everyone's fighting because everyone's there. Mm-hmm. Blue ocean or blue sky is where people aren't, right? Where businesses aren't. And so the idea is in any space, if you see everyone congregating in a particular direction, you have to start to say, where is the opportunity? Where are people not? So for example, the people who did not leverage digital technology to start doing online events early, mm-hmm. those people who saw and realized, wait a minute, this corona moment might be lasting longer, let me get my digital resources and let me start doing online events. Mm-hmm. Those early people are the ones who basically were signaling, hey, I'm a leader, I'm a leader, I'm a leader, even if they weren't before. They were stepping into the opportunity to say, I may not have it sorted, but I'm stepping forward to put together a webinar. I'm stepping forward to grab my colleagues and put together the future of online commerce or a conversation. Yeah. Because at the end of the day, it's not just about your product and service, right? It's about the space, the story that you're telling. Yeah. And then your product, your service, and all the other businesses that are part of that conversation, mm-hmm. they're operating within that category. Yeah. And so you have to think of yourself as a category leader. Mm-hmm. And those are the ones who are saying, wow, I have an opportunity to say something. Mm-hmm. And so most business owners aren't thinking, what do I have to say? What would people want to hear? And as you begin to articulate that message in the marketplace, which usually isn't about your product or service, it's about something greater. And people will respond to something greater and say, who is that person that's speaking about this greater? I want to know about her business. I want to know about his business. Let me find out more. And that then becomes the beginning of the conversation and the relationship.
And that's the point of the opportunity, because they can basically look to the world and see how could we make the difference.
Exactly.
Right?
And see what's missing and try to be the solution. Yeah. Offer something that doesn't exist yet.
Yeah. And that's also a part of being present in the sense of knowledge, knowing that what is going on, and believing that things can be changed, you know. In that sense, this is a particular time also because people are very negative. And I wanted to know about your experience as a consultant, right? Yeah. What is your favorite point to speak now related to your clients, in the sense that they are most afraid of? So in the sense also to our community to feel related, you know, because I know there are a lot of people watching this that feels like, okay, this could be my point. This is happening to me. So what points could you tell me that are happening now and that could be a problem, you know?
Tell me a little, I want to make sure I understand your question.
My question is, imagine I have a brand, and if unfortunately this is not working for me because I don't have clients, and I talk to you, what would you tell me?
Well, first I'd say, why don't you have any clients? Well, we first have to understand what is generating that result. And so that would be the first piece, right? Is, do you not have clients because you haven't, you don't have your sales pipeline structured and systematized? Is it because you aren't a great salesperson, or you don't have a sales team? Is it because you're just not making any invitations or offers? You haven't put your brand out there? So first, it's important to understand what is not working within the system, right? One of my favorite theorists, his name is Otto, well, he's an educator as well, his name is Otto Scharmer, and he always talks about, it's called Theory U, and he always talks about the system has to see itself before transformation has to begin. So any great transformation that you're trying to engage in, you first have to see yourself. Yeah. And so when it comes to this potential client that is wondering why they don't have any clients, I'd have to say why they're not making any sales is first diagnosing themselves in terms of what are they actually putting in place, and then we identify what's missing, and then we would then create an entire strategy to then help them get to that desired result.
Do you have like a basis to give like a strategy to someone that is starting now?
Well, I mean, again, the point of a strategy is like you can have like base level strategies where certain things work for most cases,
Yeah.
but usually strategies are highly personalized, right?
Yeah.
Which is why people, hire me, work with me, we then develop a strategy in order for you to move forward. But first and foremost, again, it's going to start with the assessment and the audit, right? A situation analysis.
Analyzing.
Yes, understanding it. But then also, in addition to understanding your brand, your business, everything it entails, you also have to understand the cultural context, because your business exists and has a relationship with culture itself.
Okay.
And most businesses
what do
don't.
you mean with the culture?
With culture itself, for example, let's take, the culture of the co-working business, right, which has been deeply impacted by this coronavirus, right, where we're sitting right now. There is a culture around co-working. Right? Culture has emerged around it in terms of what does it mean to not be working from home, not working in office, but working in a shared space.
Yeah.
And what are the concerns, right? So at some point, it became very trendy, it became very cool, and sometimes maybe you have digital nomads passing through, then suddenly you started to hear about the remote worker, right? I'm not a digital nomad, I'm a remote worker. All of these different people exist within a narrative or a culture of the category. And it means, okay, we have things like really nice latte machines, and we have comfy couches, or, that itself is communicating a way in which this category operates. Yeah. And if you're not participating fully in it, or if you're trying to disrupt it, you have to know what is the current culture to say, I'm going to create something that shifts the culture, that creates a new narrative or a new stroke in this conversation.
So it means that basically the culture can be a sense of what is the concept of the brand, right?
Well, of the categories, it's the way.
Categories.
So if you were to say what's culture within an organization, it's the way we do things around here.
Okay.
So in your business, right, your business is a category. For example, whether you're an online marketer, there are certain ways in which online marketing happens. Yeah. And there's a culture that has arisen around people who are online marketers. Maybe they're more like Gary Vaynerchuk, or they're like Marie Forleo. Maybe some of them are in your face. And again, I'm not recommending that's where you have to be. Yeah. But it means you have to understand what is the current nature of how business is done within your category before you can then say, I'm going to disrupt it.
Yeah. Okay. I understand that you have good points there, but this year is still a complicated one. People are missing funds, money. They can't even invest sometimes in strategy. In that sense, how could you recommend someone to do something and then think about the revenue?
You don't necessarily have to, invest in strategy. You usually just have to have one, so you can develop one yourself. You don't necessarily have to invest in a strategy coach like me or a consultant. Yeah. You can actually read. There's many different types of resources out there in terms of getting a strategy. I think first and foremost, someone has to then say, okay, well, if there's no funds, then I have to scale back certain things in my business, right? So it's really, again, back to the assessment to say, where do I need to make certain cuts and make certain shifts in my business? And where do I need to then either shift funds or decide what is essential and what's not essential in my business in order for it to move forward? But ultimately, you're going to have a strategy to raise your revenue, right? Because otherwise, you're not going to be in business. And so ultimately you're going to have to say, okay, well, where is that low-hanging fruit, right? Where is there a particular shift that I have to make in my business? So for example, people who were offline primarily had to make the shift to online business in some cases. You saw people who were doing yoga starting to say, okay, let me now take my yoga online and let me do online yoga classes and let me reach out to my customer base. Yeah. And so that was a shift that occurred. DJs suddenly went from maybe, and if you think about it, many of the DJs who did not try to create online experiences, they really struggled because they did not take that transition very well. And you have some DJs that were like, there's no way to make money. I know a lot of DJs that are making a lot of money and they're booking out smaller experiences and they're finding different ways.
Cheap experience?
Not always cheap. I mean, I've seen people raise $20,000 in like a week. It's all about the relationships that you have too. Yeah. And it's all about the way in which you message what's needed in order for people to invest in you.
It's interesting you speak about the DJs, because it's not a strategy that is clear. You know, we believe that strategy that the DJs normally do what people are expecting. If I'm going to make some DJ music at home because of Corona, it's something that we think it's not a strategy. It's just doing his job. You know, so I want to know.
But here's the thing. It's not a strategy, it's just somebody doing their job. The strategy is not I just go home and turn on a camera and I'm a DJ and sharing music. The strategy is saying, okay, which organizations or with corporations or what private events, how do I present my offering in a way that elevates its value so that people will come to me for certain things? So what you started to hear and see is DJs that weren't just DJing regular stuff, they now were elevating themselves to sound artists. So I'm not just a DJ, I am a sound artist, and I am an essential component to your online experience. And so you started to see people doing online events with a DJ on staff. I've been to weekend events where they've actually had a paid DJ for 3 days.
Wow.
Exactly. But that's what I'm saying, right? If you're just thinking about it from an ordinary perspective, you wouldn't think to yourself, wait a minute, there's all these amazing online events happening. What if I became the go-to event, the go-to DJ for all of those events? That's the strategy.
Yeah, the mindset.
It's the mindset, and then it's about being able to reach out to those who are hosting those things and creating the strategic partnerships.
Yeah, and we're almost, we can say that we're all a bit of influencers.
Yeah, well, we are influential, I definitely will say that. All of us have influence.
Yeah.
We may not be the influencers, the Instagram influencers, but we all have influence, and we just have to wield it.
That's that job that we have to do in case of commercial, you know, the thing of offering yourself a little bit to say, you know, I could do this. That's kind of tiring, you know. People get tired of promoting themselves. What do you think about self-promoting and those kind of things? Do you work that too?
Absolutely. I mean, it's part of doing business, but I think what you realize is that you're not actually promoting yourself. What you're doing is you are presenting an opportunity.
Yeah.
And if you see what you do and if you see who you are as an opportunity, you're not actually trying to sell yourself. You're basically presenting and sharing that this is what I do, this is the value that I can offer, this is how I can help you. And then the person is either saying great, or they're saying, hey, actually that's not the direction I want to go. I think the issue is when you take it personally.
Yeah.
And I would recommend that you separate the value of who you are from what you do.
Then you lose the authenticity.
What do you mean?
Losing authenticity. You're saying that you want to pass an image, and it's not your image,
No, that's not what I'm saying. I'm saying your value is not tied to what you do. You're more than that.
Okay.
Yes, you are more than that.
Okay.
And I think when you believe that you are what you do, that's when things get very problematic.
Getting the right point of yourself, right?
Well, knowing who you are and knowing that whether or not the person says yes to the business deal doesn't make you any more or less valuable.
Okay.
And I think that is the biggest challenge we have is people, they lock their value into it. And that is very dangerous. We've all been there, but that's a very dangerous place to be.
Okay.
Yeah.
Thank you, Ozioma. This was a very interesting talk. How can our community find you on internet and know about your services?
Well, you can check me out on, of course, Instagram at Ozioma. You can also send me an email. We have an email, just burnbrightstrategy@gmail.com. That's the one that we just put out there. And then you can find me on LinkedIn. I'm always accepting LinkedIn. To me, that's the other thing. We won't go there, but most entrepreneurs are not leveraging LinkedIn the way they need to.
Yeah,
but you can find me on LinkedIn and we can talk more about that.
Okay, thank you so much for your presence. I am Petra Teixeira. Next week, don't miss Marco Facchini. They will be speaking about digital marketing. Thank you so much on that side.